He stayed in the ambulance for 58 minutes without moving. Inside, a dying man. Outside, a hospital full of staff. No one came, not even once. What he did next divided the entire country. 58 minutes, one dying man, and no one opened the door. He sat in the ambulance with the engine off as if afraid to wake the night. The clock read 3:47. The windshield was clouded with fog. Not the gentle morning kind, but thick, heavy, like a blanket soaked in salt, fumes, and something else. Something hospital-like. The headlights were off. Inside, one dim indicator light blinked near the floor, under a box of disposable gloves. Its rhythm, slow, stubborn, like the breathing of someone near the end. A reminder, he's still here. On the passenger stretcher lay an old man under a gray blanket. No shoes, no documents, only a wrapped elbow and a smudged hospital wristband with a half name. Thomas. He didn't move, but he was still warm. Or maybe just seemed warm. The paramedic didn't check. He just sat beside him, not moving, not touching, not looking away. He didn't call the triage desk, didn't demand access to the ER, didn't run into the hallway shouting like they teach. He simply left the window cracked open and listened to a door slamming somewhere deep inside the building, and waited. That moment would later air on television. That frame would be paused by a news anchor asking, "Would you have done the same?" But for now there was only fog, and an old ambulance with fading lettering on its side, and a man in the driver's seat who didn't log the time of arrival, didn't flip on the sirens, didn't mark the end of his shift. He simply stayed, as if he knew someone would need that moment later, as if someone eventually would see it. He never liked the word on call. His chart read, paramedic, mobile response unit, 31 years of service, night shifts, optional, but there was no longer desire, only habit. He was 62. His name didn't matter. Few remembered it anyway. If they called at all, it was through dispatch. Unit 14-03, do you copy? Copy none. No calls, stand by. That night, there were no calls. Just an old gas ambulance, rusted door hinges, weak overhead lighting, and a thermos of bitter strong tea he brewed himself. He drank it without sugar, listened to the air circulate through the vents, didn't touch his old phone on the dash, one alarm on it, 5:45, just in case he fell asleep. He rarely sat in the driver's seat. Mostly he napped on the passenger side, rolled up jacket behind his back. Thick sweater, dark pants, medical boots, wool socks. The radio buzzed with the faint static of a quiet channel, like someone was breathing, but silently. An old security guard passed by and muttered, "Pipes leaking on the 5th again." He nodded, not because he knew, but because he didn't want to speak. Not at night. At 3:15, someone walked the hallway. Slow, quiet steps, a shadow on white tiles. He heard them but didn't open his eyes. Everything was as always. He didn't feel tired. Tired people want to go home. He just was there. In the stillness, where no one called, no one asked questions, and no one expected explanations for delays. He knew where the spare gloves were. He knew how to brew tea for two, even if there was only one. He knew what the faces looked like, the ones no one expected in the ER. He knew the phrases doctors used when there were no beds, the pauses they made when the patient had no name, the looks they gave when a paramedic brought in an inconvenience. He'd seen it all before, more than once, but not that night. That night he just sat in the cab, drank his tea, and waited. At 3:18, someone knocked on the door. He sighed, barely, checked the clock, and opened his eyes. The door creaked open, softly without knocking or warning. Like the night exhaled and took something with it. It was an orderly, young, hood up, tired eyes. He didn't come close, just said, "Found him at the bus stop, alone, no ID, disoriented, might have fallen," and quickly added, "Filed it already, your sector. You don't have to take him in." The paramedic didn't answer, just motioned toward the back of the van. Questions were pointless. Even if he asked, no one would answer. The man on the stretcher was elderly, fingertips blotched like stained with ink, nails unevenly clipped, socks, one with a hole in the heel, no belt, only a shoelace tied tight, tape marks on his cheeks like someone had removed oxygen tubing recently. Eyes open but unfocused, staring inward. He breathed slowly, through his nose, deep. His wristband was smudged, issued from another facility, technically invalid. Faded ink read, Thomas B., or maybe R., 1943. No coat, no phone, no wallet, no relatives, no history. The paramedic covered him with a blanket, not because protocol said so, but because he couldn't not. Then washed his hands, slowly, deliberately, as always. He climbed back into the cab, started the engine, and pulled up slightly to the ER entrance. No sirens, no call-in, no urgency, just silence, and fog filling the mirrors, and the tire tracks vanishing behind them. Half an hour passed. No one came out. He didn't knock, didn't shout, didn't say, take him now. He already knew. No one wants cases like that. No files, no name, no guarantees. The man was nobody's, and nobody wants the ones who belong to no one. At 3:52, he poured himself more tea. It had gone cold. It smelled metallic. The old man coughed, once, quietly. He flinched, almost opened the door, but didn't. He listened. Silence. He stared out the window and told himself, they'll come out, just a bit longer. They didn't. Later, when he tried to remember why he didn't go inside himself, he couldn't. Maybe he feared the scene. Maybe he knew they wouldn't listen. Or maybe he thought staying close was enough. An hour passed. The old man's breathing faded. One hand slipped from the stretcher's edge. He stared at it and didn't move it back, because to move it was to interfere, and to interfere was to take responsibility. Rain started, light, almost whispering. A single drop traced the word AMBULANCE on the hood, as if underlining that something had gone wrong. At 4:08, the ER door finally opened. A young doctor stepped out, sweatpants, scrubs, hoodie, phone in hand. He stopped by a trash can, scrolling blankly. The screen's glow pulsed in the fog, like a beacon that didn't beckon, just blinked. The paramedic saw him, but didn't move. He adjusted the side mirror, watched. Between them, 20 meters, open pavement, shallow puddles, weak lamplight. The doctor stood there a moment, and then went back in. Another man came out later, older, in a white coat. He paused, glanced at the parked ambulance, then turned, walked away slowly. The paramedic kept watching. As behind glass, others moved. Someone walked by with folders. Someone made coffee. Someone adjusted the shift chart. Everyone had something to do, except him, except the man on the stretcher, except this moment. He remembered, back in 1996, he once brought in a similar case, unidentified, alone. They scolded him. You're not social services. Another time, they accepted the patient, then lost him. They blamed the paramedic for not logging the handoff. He knew how it worked. The louder you are, the more they blame you. At 4:26, he made more tea, added half a sugar packet. First time in 3 years. The rear stayed quiet. No movement, no breathing. And he realized he hadn't checked, didn't approach, didn't turn on the light, just waited, maybe for someone else to act. At 4:33, he opened the shift log, found the right page, but didn't write anything. The pen trembled in his fingers, as if this, the signature, was the threshold between standing by and stepping in. He set it down. Too fast. Regretted it instantly. The radio whispered, not his channel, just static, like someone breathing. The old man still lay there. Same position, same worn sock, same silence. At 4:41, he finally got out, moved slowly, legs slightly shaking. Not from fear, but the chill. He walked to the rear door, opened it, looked inside, and didn't reach out. He knew, he saw it in the eyes, the lips. the stillness that no longer counted as breath. He stood there for 20 seconds, not breathing, then closed the door, got back into the cab, turned on the radio. A late-night station was playing blues. No DJ, no voice. He wasn't listening. His phone lit up. 5 a.m., shift ends. He didn't press OK, didn't close the shift. 8 months passed. Ambulance 14-3 was scrapped in April. The frame sent to recycling. The cab donated to a medical college. Its parking space, now filled with a new van, touchscreen dashboard, padded seats. The paramedic was gone. No resignation letter, no goodbyes. He just stopped showing up. In his locker, they found an old thermos with a sticker. Not mine, not yours. Work issued. Nothing more might have been said, if not for a routine investigation in June. A newer paramedic was under review for mishandling medications. Security combed through archived camera footage. The incident they were after occurred the same night. They pulled files from a folder marked ironically, "Nothing important, archive," and someone, maybe a technician, maybe a nurse, opened the wrong file. 04_17CAM 5.MP4. Footage was grainy, angle tilted, half the frame obscured by concrete awning. But what was visible was enough. An ambulance parked, lights off, a man inside, motionless. Hours passed. Staff entered and exited the building. None approached. At minute 54, he stepped out, opened the rear door, paused, lowered his head, closed it again, sat back down. The frame held, then cut. No one could say who leaked the video. Someone sent it to the city newspaper. Maybe from guilt, maybe from memory. It appeared under the local news section titled Night Watch. The post was brief, a moment no one noticed. A paramedic, a night, a van, a man on a stretcher. He stayed and didn't go inside. 1 hour later, the man died. We don't ask why he didn't enter. We ask why no one else did. The video was attached. It spread fast. First through medical groups, then social media, then television. On screen, a man with graying hair, slouched shoulders, holding a cup of coffee, not speaking. The comments came in waves. He's a hero. He should have gone in. He did what he could. Where were the others? Why didn't anyone help? Timestamps, debates, tears, and him? He didn't know. His phone didn't have apps. He didn't use the internet. He didn't buy the paper. He only turned the TV on for weather. He still made tea, still drank it slowly. No sugar, no headlines, just quiet. His name was never mentioned. No one knew who he was, the man in the video, the paramedic who stayed. The hospital didn't comment. The press didn't press. He had no social media, no interviews, no statements. He just faded out. But one person recognized him, the son of the man on the stretcher. It started when a friend sent him the article. "Isn't this your dad?" The son watched the clip 10 times, zoomed in, froze the frame. Not his father, but the man beside him. He looked familiar. He had seen him once. Maybe during the transfer from the care home. Maybe in a hallway. Maybe just in that way, you remember someone who did something kind. The son went to the hospital, spoke to 3 departments. No one knew anything. Until one nurse, older, quiet, paused at the words, Unit 14-03. She whispered, "There was a man, quiet, always worked nights, tea in a metal thermos. We just called him Thomas B or maybe R." He asked, "Where is he now?" She didn't know. No forwarding address, no file, just an old locker with a sticker. "Leave your badge like you leave the night, without sound." The son left a note, handwritten. "If you're reading this, I think you knew my father. Or maybe you were the only one who really saw him. I don't know why you stayed, but thank you for doing it. It made all the difference." He didn't address it, didn't sign it, just folded it and slid it into an envelope. He didn't know where to send it, so he kept it in his coat pocket for weeks. Until one morning, walking past a train station, he saw a man in an old coat, sipping from a metal thermos, sitting alone on a bench. It wasn't him, but something in the way the man looked at the steam felt close enough. He left the note under the bench and walked away. What happened after? No one knows. But somewhere, days later, a man, older, quiet, sat in a park with a thermos and a folded paper in his hand. He read it, didn't smile, didn't cry. He just nodded, as if something inside him had been confirmed. He refolded the note, held it for a while, then burned it with a match, carefully in a tin ashtray near the bench. Watched it curl and disappear, because some messages don't need to be kept, only received. 6 months later, during a quiet ceremony no one covered, a new bench was installed near the entrance to the hospital's night ward. Weatherproof, simple, metal frame, wood slats, and a small brass plaque, screwed in slightly crooked like by someone in a hurry. It read, "To the one who stayed, even when no one asked, even when no one saw." On rainy days, the bench stays dry longest. It faces east, toward the ambulance bay, toward the fog. And if you sit long enough, you'll hear the soft sound of breath. Not yours, not anyone's. Just something, reminding you that someone once stayed. Without asking for thanks, without signing the log, just stayed.